This is hands down the best dessert I've ever made, or maybe ever had. With just a few simple tweaks, we're gonna turn a basic homemade ice cream into something you'll be wanting to make over and over, and you can turn it into any flavor you want. So let's get going, because today we're making Welcome. So this is somewhat of a minimalist approach to ice cream, just a few high quality ingredients and no gums or stabilizers, because in this case, less is more. And we're gonna start off with about 1/3 of a cup of bourbon. You can absolutely do a boozeless version, but I find that bourbon pairs really nicely here, and we're gonna combine it with a little more than half a cup or so of a high quality maple syrup. And I found this bourbon barrel aged maple syrup, and it's really good, but not sponsored. We're gonna work this with a whisk for just like 2 to 3 minutes or so on a medium heat, just to sort of concentrate all the flavors and burn off a little bit of that edge and bite from the bourbon. We're not looking for a huge reduction or anything like that. This is gonna serve as the bulk of the sweetness in our ice cream, but we'll also wind up adding some brown sugar at a later stage. This recipe is sort of a happy accident from a time when I went to make some ice cream and realized I didn't have any sugar left. So now we're gonna prep our eggs, and we're just using yolks for this. I tend to find that 3 eggs gets you somewhat of a Haagen-Dazs-like end result, but using 4 eggs makes it extra custardy, and since the bourbon raises the water content here, it's good to have a little extra fat for freezability. Speaking of extra fat, we're going in with 2 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, followed by 1 cup of whole milk. We'll get it on to a medium heat, making sure to stir constantly because the milk can burn. The framework of this process I picked up from a video 10 years ago from a pastry chef named Alfonso Ramirez, and I've tweaked it a bit over the years. Once we hit a simmer, we're gonna remove about 1.5 cups or so. We're gonna use this to temper our eggs so they don't just immediately turn into chunks of scrambled egg. Because egg ice cream might not be for everyone. So I've got my blender here with the 4 egg yolks from earlier, and I'm just gonna add about 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Then we'll get in our bourbon and maple syrup mixture too. Now, this whole process with the heating of the milk and the blender and all that is simply to pasteurize the eggs and kill off any potential bacteria or stuff like that. Lots of people are cool with eating raw eggs these days, especially if they're high quality, so I'll leave that up to you guys. I'd also use the blender top if you're not trying to film inside. Now we'll get this whole thing back to the stove and slowly incorporate our new concoction here into the cream and milk. You just want to keep whisking it until it gets to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit or so, and we're pretty much good to go with our base. Last thing I like to do before we're done for the day is to give it a little jump start in the cooling process. So we're gonna get it into a little ice bath, double bowl action for 5 to 10 minutes before we put it in our final vessel for the fridge. If you don't wanna wait overnight, and sometimes I don't, what you can do is keep it in here, refilling the ice periodically and stirring occasionally. Once it reaches about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you should be ready for the ice cream machine or whatever freezing method you plan on using. So while it was still warm, I had intended on adding about a tablespoon of vanilla bean paste and a pinch of salt, but it's okay to add in now. This is going to give us that nice classic vanilla flavor, and the salt adds a really nice contrast to all the sweetness. So all that's left to do for now is to get this in the fridge overnight, kick the old feet up, and relax a bit, because tomorrow is ice cream day, and that's a beautiful thing. We made it to the next day, and I bet you thought I forgot about the pecans in our pecan pie, but not only did I not forget, but we're gonna toast them in some brown butter. This is the same stuff that I froze from our brown butter pasta episode a few weeks back. I tend to keep this in the freezer because it's great for all kinds of stuff, and definitely plays well into our pecan pie theme. Basically, all we want to do is combine the pecans with the butter over a medium heat and make sure to keep it moving constantly. these will seriously burn in the blink of an eye. Once you smell the nice toasty aroma and see some bubbling, we're just gonna let these cool off a bit while we prep our ice cream machine. So in my opinion, ice cream machines are totally worth the investment, and you can pick up a pretty solid one for about 50 bucks, but if you don't want to get one, America's Test Kitchen has a great recipe for machineless ice cream. Either way, this is the funnest part of the process and very, very satisfying. We're going to basically let this go for about 10 to 12 minutes or so, depending on how cold the inner unit is. Then when we're about halfway through, we'll add our pecans. The key to adding the pecans is to make sure to get about half of them into the ice cream machine and the other half all over your kitchen counter. And like Chef Alfonso says, you're looking to take this to like a Wendy's Frosty type consistency before stopping the machine. Or for people that like good fast food, that's about a similar thickness to like a In-N-Out milkshake. At this stage, you want to work pretty quickly. It's a bit warm in here, so it's gonna start melting on us super quick. And to be honest, I'm a bit stressed out managing both the camera and the cream. I find that using a rectangular vessel for freezing is better than a quart container for scoopability, but use what you got. Last order of business in our pecan pie is, well, the crust. In this case, I found these butter pecan biscotti cookies at my grocery store, and since I didn't feel like breaking out the old food processor, I'm just gonna get them into a bag and whack them with something heavy until they turn into a nice cookie dust. From here, there's just two things I like to do to ensure a good freeze and texture, but if you've been digging the background music, I write it all myself, and it's available on streaming platforms under the artist name Jandre FM. And you can download the files for free on my Patreon. No sign up required. As of now, I don't have any sponsors for this channel, but on Patreon, I'll be posting additional recipes, videos, music, behind the scenes, and more. So please consider supporting my content with a membership. I'll leave a link down below. Alright, so the first step to a good freeze is to add some parchment over the top to help keep everything airtight. Then you want to make sure to put the ice cream in the coldest part of the freezer, which is usually near the top and back by the vents. The faster it freezes, the better the texture. I'd let it set up in the freezer for at least 2 to 3 hours, but if you're in a rush, I'd just say go for it. So for scooping, I find the best method is to go slowly and towards you, which is a good way to get a more roundish scoop, but I'm definitely not a master at it, as you can probably tell. Last step is to get a little bit more of our pie crust, and there it is. It's like the perfect ice cream with the spirit of pecan pie. All right, let's see how it is. It's so delicate and creamy. You get the bourbon, the maple, the pecans, but what really takes it to the next level for me is the texture of our biscotti crust. All right, we did it. Give a like, subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.